For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas. Israel continued its raid on Gaza today after a 72-hour truce collapsed just shortly after it began. Hamas and Israel both accused each other of breaking the ceasefire. Meanwhile, the Palestinian death toll climbs to 1,600. Our Gaza correspondent has the latest.
Yes, a truce, a ceasefire was announced to start at 8 a.m. Gaza time. And in the first hour of this truce, of this ceasefire, the Israeli side violated it twice. First, when they shelled on people's home in Rafah city, southern Gaza Strip, killing 2 Palestinians. The second is when the Israeli snipers killed a Palestinian man in eastern Gaza in Sha'af district. So it's a total of 3 Palestinians who were killed only in the first hour of the ceasefire. But we can say that the Palestinians today feel safe to go out to the streets and buy their basic needs for the first time since like 6 days.
And as the attacks on Gaza continue, today the U.S. announced it would grant more military aid to Israel.
By unanimous consent, the Senate agreed to send $225 million worth of assistance through Iron Dome to Israel. In other words, we just passed a appropriations bill that will provide more missiles to the Iron Dome program that's protecting the Israeli population from utter destruction.
UN Human Rights Chief Navi Pillay has strongly condemned the continuation of U.S. military aid to Israel.
They have not only provided the heavy weaponry, which is now being used by Israel in Gaza, but they've also provided almost $1 billion in providing the Iron Domes to protect Israelis from the rocket attacks, but no such protection has been provided to Gazans against the shelling. So I am reminding the United States that it's a party to international humanitarian law and human rights law.
And moving on, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro met his Colombian counterpart Juan Manuel Santos in Colombia this Friday to discuss cooperation and trade agreements. The bilateral meeting mainly aimed at addressing economic issues and trade. President Maduro said he would be working with his Colombian counterpart in the fight against food smuggling. The meeting concluded with a cooperation agreement in that area. Maduro repeated Venezuela's offer to contribute to the Colombian peace process.
We established some working mechanisms, some concrete goals, some concrete operations. We will also establish joint command and control centers where Colombians and Venezuelans will be represented in order to fight more efficiently this phenomenon.
We have redesigned our working and cooperation agenda. We have proposed new methods to follow up decisions so that each of these projects, in their financial, commercial, energy, and social spheres, will be really fulfilled. Our relations at a communication level, our respectful relations, our cooperation, I think these have been fortified today, and that is how they should stay.
Venezuela and Colombia share a 2,000-kilometer border, which has led to smuggling of subsidized goods from Venezuela into Colombia. Over 30,000 barrels of subsidized gas are illegally shipped for sale in Colombia, which equates to a total loss of $1.4 billion for Venezuela. The same goes for many food staples, such as corn flour and powdered milk, which cost much more in Colombia. Venezuela loses an estimated $5 billion annually from contraband foods. Venezuela's Operation Sentinel, which aims to stop cross-border smuggling, has to date seized 160 tons of food. U.S. Judge Thomas Griesa has called for further negotiations between Argentina and the vulture funds. Some claimed an Argentine default, when talks collapsed this week. Argentina disagrees, however, arguing it has made payments available to its creditors. Argentine President Cristina Fernandez has blasted the vulture funds for demanding super profits. She accused them of throwing financial missiles at the Argentinian economy, which will cost lives. Mexican lawmakers continue their debate on controversial energy reforms that could lead to more privatization. For the latest on this ongoing story, we go to our correspondent in Mexico City, Clayton Kahn.
Mexican lawmakers continue to debate secondary laws to a controversial energy reform approved last year. Final vote was expected for today. However, lawmakers in the lower house passed various articles back to the Senate for a second vote. A coalition of left parties have opposed the laws, declaring them an attempt to privatize the national energy sector. This past week alone, they have gathered more than 3 million signatures for a national referendum. Another controversial issue has been the labor liabilities from the state-run oil company Pemex, which will be transferred into national debt, incurring 3.2 billion pesos for Mexican taxpayers. Final votes are expected for the laws this upcoming weekend.
In a White House press conference today, President Obama admitted that the CIA has tortured people in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. This revelation comes before a Senate committee report on the CIA due out next week.
In the immediate aftermath of 9/11, we did some things that were wrong. We did a whole lot of things that were right, but we tortured some folks. We did some things that were contrary to our values.
Whistleblower Edward Snowden will stay in Russia while awaiting approval of a new asylum request. Snowden's temporary asylum in Russia expired yesterday. The former NSA employee faces 3 charges of espionage in the United States, each count carrying a possible 10-year sentence. If forced to the United States, Snowden fears he would not receive a fair trial.
You will join me and Freedom of the Press and every other organization in making that a
According to new jobs numbers released today, U.S. unemployment rose in July. The unemployment rate now stands at 6.2%. The latest figures followed news that GDP grew at 4%, indicating that not everybody is benefiting from the economic growth. In a sign that Libya is slipping into further chaos, hundreds of foreigners were evacuated from the country today. Soaring violence over the past 3 weeks has seen numerous embassies evacuating staff. Today, France evacuated its citizens. Greek embassy personnel also left the country. The fighting saw an armed militia declare control of Libya's second largest city of Benghazi earlier this week. The government warned of Libya's breakup. The British band Massive Attack has added itself to the growing list of celebrities expressing solidarity with the besieged Palestinian people. The group dedicated a concert in Lebanon to the children of Gaza. The concert was organized by a pro-Palestinian foundation to raise funds for Gaza ambulance services. The group visited a Palestinian refugee camp in Beirut in support of the Palestinian cause. Earlier this week, celebrity couple Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem co-signed an open letter in the Spanish press condemning Israel's actions. We have more on those stories and plenty others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a good weekend.